I woke up this morning and I thought, I've got a feeling it's going to be a bad hair day. And then I find out nobody else can spot the difference. You said to me, how? And I said, what? And you said, thank you for the review. And I said, what review? And they said, you just did the Tribit Stormbox Blast 2. And I said, no. I said, that was an unboxing. I said, guys, you've got to give me time. Trust me, you can't just take the speaker out of a box, stick it on a table, listen to it for 15, 20 seconds, and then say, I like it, I don't like it, and this is how it is. If somebody was to do that, you'd have to say, no. That's what you said. Because, I said, impressions always change. You get to learn the strengths, the weaknesses, and the okays of about a speaker over a long run. Give it a little chance of burning. There's no such thing as burning now! Well, sometimes it makes a difference, sometimes it doesn't. Remember, this is all about the Stormbox Blast 2. Pumpity bum bum bum. Is that the same as the Tribit Stormbox Blast XL? This is the exact same speaker. In my world, this is the Tribit Stormbox Blast XL, because it's nothing like the original Tribit Stormbox Blast, which had many magical things about it. Wasn't just, that's the point about a speaker. You can't just say, here's a frequency response, blah, blah, blah. It does this bass. That is a lot more to it. How the drivers gel with each other, soundstage, etc., etc. We've got, especially in the Bluetooth speaker portable world, there's a distinct line between critical listening and having a party. You know, and that's the point about a portable speaker, more designed for a party, whereas hi-fi, you almost always, I know we've got our PA systems, our hi-fi systems stay in one place, and it's one genre. You're there and you're happy, you're not happy, but it's not like, I'm going to take it to this party, I'm going to take it to that beach. It's a whole different ball game. Mr. J's, Iyagi, watch and learn, son. So, right, it's the Tribit Stormbox Blast XL. Tribit themselves, or Tribit, have named it the Tribit Stormbox Blast 2, but please don't think of it as an upgrade to the original Stormbox Blast. Think of it as a totally different speaker. It's a fun speaker. It's a speaker that you can have a good party with. So already I've got more positive things to say than in my first video, but a theme will be about the genre, how speaker, where I think a speaker fits in our world, in our Bluetooth world. Is it for critical listening? Spoiler alert, no. But hey, you keep saying, now, can you EQ it? Just remember, there's already going to be a 4-hour video. Only so much I can do the video. I probably will EQ this one. I don't like doing EQs anymore because everyone's got their own idea of a good EQ. And because every time they do a firmware update, change the sound, hours of work has gone down the drain. So either I'll do this soon or wait for the next firmware. There are firmwares coming. I want to get on with this. I don't want this to be over long. That's not what she said. So, if you don't know, this is the Tribit Stormbox Blast XL, aka Stormbox Blast 2. It's a 3-way. That's really good, Al! Yes, but sometimes in the cheap world, it's not so good. Why is that, Al? Well, because it's hard. I've said this multiple times, and I'm still seeing it. I haven't seen any of these cheap 3-ways where they got the crossovers right. It's hard to get one crossover right. You don't just say, right, I'm going to have the woofers play up to there, the tweeters down, start from there, and that's it. There's a lot more to it. They've got to gel. They've got to come together at a certain distance, etc., etc. So you hear it as one speaker. Hard enough with one crossover, let alone 2 crossovers. We've got a true subwoofer. What makes it a true subwoofer out? Because it only plays the bass or the deep notes. The woofers play the mids, and they play some highs on the speaker, and then we've got the tweeters that play the highs. So that's the speaker. I've already given you the unboxing, but I'll go over this as quickly as I can. We've got the power level there, because if you want to know the volume indicator, you've got them, as usual, like the Blast, on the sides. They will indicate where they are. You've got your power button, your Bluetooth button, your volume down, your pause multifunction button, your volume up, your lights. You can change the lights from here. You can turn bass on or Xbass, take Xbass off and on, and then you've got your connected button. I've got these two connected together. Well, what's that then? That's what I call the prototype. That was the pre-production, but actually it doesn't sound that much different to the production unit. I've got them paired in stereo, and does that work? Sweet as a nut. you don't know, sweet as a nut is I think it's quite a British thing, but that means it's a good thing. Sweet as a nut. I've got no idea what sweet as a nut mean. Nuts are not really that sweet. I know there's a joke there, but we won't go there. Not today. Anyway, there will be a time for that. There's a time and place for everything. But this time and place is about the Blast XL. So yeah, stereo pairing has been faultless. I'll just show you that again, actually, just in case. And then I'm going to try and race through this. If I turn the master off, I thought it would turn the other one off, but maybe that's because I turned that on first. But anyway, turn that one on. See, it's flashing. It's looking for its mate.
Stereo mode.
Stereo mode.
Left channel.
Left channel.
Stereo mode.
Stereo mode.
Right channel.
Right channel. Just to quickly show you the back, and I want to get it on for once in my life. Not have to take out 4 hours in the edit. You can charge this 2 ways. By mains, and I now know that's charges at 50 watts if you do it by the mains. You can charge it via USB-C, but then you'll only get 10 watts. You can use this to play music straight off a dongle. Can you? Yes, I think you can, but that's also the power bank functionality is from a separate USB-C, USB-A. We've got 2 mic inputs with separate volume controls, separate to the speaker itself, and you've got echo. What do you mean? It's echo or reverb? What they call reverb. Reverb, and of course that's for your karaoke. Because they are marketing this as a party karaoke speaker. So don't complain, it don't sound like hi-fi. The clue is on the box. This is about fun, 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 and singing with your girlfriends, singing with your mates, and I can't think of anything funny to say about that because that's quite serious. We do enjoy a bit of karaoke, but that was never a karaoke speaker. The original, the one that started it all off. Pound for pound champion, I still think, because I'm seeing it at low prices still, I think 140 quid. That's a giveaway. If you want to do critical listening, or like as much as you can on these kind of speakers. Right, we said we'd race on. What should we expect from the frequency response? I already talked about it being muddy on first impression in Xbass mode. It's clearer if you take Xbass off. What exactly is going on? I'm going to show you my frequency response measurements.
Xbass on versus Xbass off. As you can see, if you hit the Xbass on button, what you get is a bit more of a V shape compared to Xbass off. So we're getting not only a bit of a bass boost, we're also getting a bit of a high-end boost as well. We're just becoming more sucked out in the mids. So that's huge. That mid-bass peak is huge. It's about 10 decibels above the rest of the track. But by the time you're getting 70% and over, it's actually starting to roll off. It's evening out. And by a maximum volume, you're actually rolled off in terms of your bass. The high end is not as dropping off as it looks. It's actually reasonably extended. This is due to mic placement, trying to get center onto those tweeters so I can get how the drivers all together are gelling. If we actually look at the individual drivers, you can see the tweeter when measured near field does extend higher. But, you know, these three-way designs, they're always a bit hit and miss. You can see the subwoofer here in green. Perhaps we could have done with less of the mid-bass and a bit more deep extension. Due to that mid-bass peak, we get a perception of a upper bass cut. You can actually see the subwoofer itself, well, you know, is completely boosted in quite a narrow region. We will say 125 hertz to around 55 hertz. All their eggs in one basket. Passive, it's not going that deep. Seems to be tuned around 50 hertz. And the woofer, or woofers as we have on the speaker, cutting in around the 250 hertz mark. It's got a peak 350 hertz. And then that's why we're getting a bit of a mid suck out in terms of the overall sound. Clearly rolling off at 4 kilohertz, but a bit of a peak again around 13 kilohertz. We do have EQ, we do have multi-band sliders, just to show you how much headroom there is in terms of the bass, which I know most people are interested in. If we max out 50, 80, 150 hertz sliders, 60% volume, well, a little bit of a trade-off at the high end, but we do get big bass headroom, even though it's already well boosted. But is there real headroom? If you go to maximum volume, you can see you will get more bass, maxing out the bass sliders, the trade-off being less volume, because you will lose in the mids and the highs.
It's no secret. It's not one of those things going through the Pentagon and has to be leaked by multiple agencies, and then you have to escape to Russia. The thing is, it's mid-bass heavy. The gasp, the crowd goes wild. We never expected that. Well, you should have. I told you about it multiple times. It's very, very, very mid-bass heavy. If you like mid-bass, you're going to say, my God, this is the greatest thing I have ever heard. And if you don't like too much bass, you're going to say, oh my God, what are they thinking? It's going to be one of those speakers. There will be positive things to say. Thank God for that. The volume steps were nice and linear. Yes, I'm reading my notes. Nice and linear, yeah. So, I thought the volume steps were nice down, a little bit more control. Okay, a little bit more control at low volumes, but pretty linear as you got the volume steps. When you turn, at least you don't get a huge bass cut, as we've had previously with, I don't know if that was on my feedback or not. They said they noticed some of my feedback. It seems not so much on the Xbass mode, but probably on the Xbass off. It's a bit more balanced rather than bass light. That's good. That was one of the things on the one listen I had on my pre-production unit. It was either very, very bass heavy or very bass light. Xbass off is balanced, reasonably balanced, but it's still very bass focused. You can't get away from hearing the mid bass on this. It's got an app. Let me show you the app. You can obviously control your lights. There's nothing showing there for lights. I don't know why. There's the equalizer. Now, as I said, there's going to be an update to the app coming. They're going to have a preset that says something like Blast Traditional. They did that on I think based on my feedback on the X Sound Plus. I never get enough credit for my stuff, but anyway, I just like giving my feedback. So they do seem to take on board sometimes. That was one of my ideas. I big myself up when necessary. But however, the Max Sound Traditional on the originally, by the way, they're going to call it Classic. You've got a classical preset. It's going to get very, very confusing, and they changed the name. I don't get a penny for any of this stuff. Maybe I should just keep my mouth shut and keep my ideas for the video, because what's the point? Yeah, a good point. I just thought about it now. I was like, what am I doing that for? For nothing. As I said, originally the idea was I was going to be able to give feedback, post my journey on Instagram, and then they were clearly unhappy about me doing that, so I didn't bother. So yeah, Audiobook Rock Jazz are the presets. Now, if you use it, I don't know. The other one, obviously, that's notable is the X3D. There's going to be a theme here. I think there's 3D going on in all modes, just different levels of it. But obviously it's extreme if you actually go to the X3D mode. You can customize, you can use a 10-band equalizer. Used to be 9-band, now it's a 10-band. Is it just to get one over on Soundcore? As you can see, it doesn't say, I mean, quickly, now it's gone flaky again. Look, I've got to go out, go back in. That gets me. So it's still flaky. Frequency response app done. Headlines were, now their headlines are, it's 200 watts. Their headlines are 200 watts, but hang on, if you have a look at the flappy thing, it says 100 watts max. You tell me what's going on. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm putting it out there. That's what she said. Apparently, I missed too many opportunities in my unboxing, so I'm gonna stick them all in. That's what she said. I don't know, over the top, not over the top. Well, it's a bit late to be thinking about, am I over the top? And I'll never be over the top compared to the accusation Jay's very, very bad memory, Yagi, has been throwing out there. Yeah, so Xbass on, Xbass off, and 3D mode. Those three modes compared, go. in Xbass On or off, you cannot get away from the thump nature of this speaker. If you don't like a dominating bass, look away now. If you like a dominating bass, it's heaven on earth for you. 3D mode, on the other hand, is quite hit and miss. It's fun for about 20 seconds, but then you'd rather hear the track because it's very echoey, it's quite hollow. Yes, it can throw the sound. What's going on now? Are they changing the placement of the drivers? No. It's cool. Call it what you want. Psychoacoustics, stereo widening, virtual 3D, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing. They're manipulating the frequency, they're manipulating the phasing to make it sound like things are happening where they're not. So, in other words, it kind of mimic what you may hear in a room, and it's reflections, and it tricks you into thinking that's what's going on. So, there are times when it sounds like the sound's coming from way over there and way over there. Not all the time, but some of the time. I've never liked this virtual 3D on anything, even on home cinema. I like it. If it's properly coded in, it works for me. But virtual, I always hear what's missing. And because by the nature of what they're doing, stuff is going to be different and missing because they're having to manipulate the frequencies. It looks terrible on the frequency response if you see what they're doing. But yeah, virtual 3D, it's a bit bright, it's a bit hollow, but it can be fun. You may like it for a while, but if it's about listening to music, you probably don't want to use it. I have to tell you, even with Xbass, where it doesn't say X3D, you can hear there is still some 3D processing happening. I don't particularly like it, but hey, other people do. We said it was 100 watts, just to make sure I'm giving you all the headlines, because there will be some people who've got no idea about this speaker. They're coming to this for the first time. I always assume people know these speakers, because, you know, us guys in the know, we know, well, you glue me up most of the time. In terms of playtime, they say you will get 30 hours playtime, which sounds absolutely amazing, actually, because they say that's tested at 50%, but with the lights and obviously the Xbass off, but it's still got reasonable bass even with Xbass off. I think that's the one thing they took on board from what I said. The charging time is about 12 hours if you do it by USB-C because it's only 10 watts, or 3 to 5 hours with the AC cable because that charges at 50 watts. You will note there's no strap. They say they may have plans to look at adding a strap in the future. That's good, and that's it. We can go straight to it. We did the comparison, Xbass on, Xbass off. This is all about bass, so therefore I'm going to do all the testing in Xbass mode. And you said, will you compare it to this? Will you compare it to that? Of course, I do everything that you ever wanted, apart from everything, because I can't do everything, because laws of physics say time is finite. So you want to know, what is he gonna? Is it worth watching? If you're still here, I'm going to now show you the speakers we're going to compare. We've got the W-King X20, or as we know, it's our friend Wayne King. I think this is USA only, unfortunately, but at the moment, apparently, this is still USA only. Coming to the UK, the Europe, I think, in November. We've got the JBL Boombox 3. It's the reference. See, that's what I mean about reference speakers. There's certain speakers that everybody's got a handle on, and it's what they're comparing when they're looking at the speakers. That's why they're the most important ones to do, and they happen to be the big brands. JBL Boombox 3, it's getting a bit long in the tooth now, but it still remains a reference for a boombox with a reasonably deep bass. But yeah, things have moved on. We've got, of course, my pound for pound champ, still not my favourite, which is the Harman Kardon Go Plus Play 3. But in terms of value for money, definitely, we're looking at 140 quid. Stonking value. I almost feel like buying a new one every time I see the price, assuming the newer models are the same as the old. Yeah, so the Tribit Stormbox Blast original, the Soundcore Boom 2 Plus. You said you didn't even like it. Look, it could do certain jobs, but overall, I just think it's a so-so speaker. It's part of the new kind of Soundcore sound, which I don't particularly like. It's a bit metallic. This one's particularly mid-bass heavy. But do you know what they do? They seem to get a lot of sound for little weight, and that's where the Soundcore is at the moment. Seems to have their value, of course, against the Tribit Stormbox Blast XL. So I'm going to do these at low volumes. This is lowish volumes for these speakers. About 40%. Kind of low level for these kind of speakers. This is my test.
Don't do that shit no more. And so I'm celebrating on the night, like I'm on holiday. I'm looking devastated, I can't lie. I'm just calling to say
Just to show you how mid-bass boosted the Blast 2 is, here you can see against the original track, just at around 65 Hz alone, that's about a 7 decibel boost. You can see we're losing mids 500 Hz to around 4 kHz, compensated for by a little bit of a boost at the high end, but noticeably it's around 5.5 and around 12 kHz, those two high-end peaks. When we compare to the Boom 2 Plus, quite similar overall outside of the 350 Hz lift for the Blast 2. The big difference, of course, is massive, huge mid-bass push on the Blast 2. And when you consider the Boom 2 Plus itself is mid-bass heavy, you can see just what we're talking about. The amount of bass there is huge, and it's overwhelming the rest of the frequency response. Against the Boombox 3, of course, hugely boosted in the bass, and if it's all about we've got more bass than the Boombox 3, you absolutely have. Along with weak mids means it's completely bass dominant. The Boombox 3, a little bit more balanced, but still has some deep bass. Against the original Blast, they kind of flip-flop where they got peaks and dips. And the Blast, which was no slouch in the bass, but you can see completely outdone in terms of bass, 150 Hz and down. We do get a suck out around 5.5 kHz on the original Blast, compensated for by more of a boost at the high end against the X20. Well, it's closer between these two, but still, it's the Blast 2 that is completely dominant in terms of bass, but you get stronger mids on the X20, they're still weak on the Blast 2, and not too dissimilar at the high end. If you overlay them all, you can see just how dominant the Blast 2 is in terms of bass, and again, you can see weakest mids, and these are low volumes. The result is it's a bit muddy, but it's got a full bass.
This is going to be a weak point for the Blast, for the Blast 2, aka Blast XL, especially because I'm doing it with Xbass On. Yes, it will be a bit clearer, slightly less bass heavy if I turn Xbass off. As I said, there's a finite amount of time. I think most people are interested in Xbass On, and I'm doing all in their default Xbass bass heavy modes. These are boomboxes. You know, you don't buy these for refined listening. I'm telling you that now, in my opinion. And that's why I'm doing that. It's very muddy. It's very muddy. Too much bass for the volumes we're getting. With weak mids, it doesn't gel well. Also, it sounds to me, I don't know. I haven't even asked Tribit. You might say, well, why don't you ask him? I can't. There's enough going on in my life. Trust me. I'll do what I can. My ears say I can still hear stereo processing. I can hear hollow. For me, it always creates something of a hollow nature. It's subtle, but there's enough there that I say I can clearly hear that going. The result is normally a bit of a shimmer. It's quite nice in the sound for a while, but then you want hard focus. It's more obvious when you hear it against speakers that are not doing stereo processing, and you can hear the focus, the definition is more solid. It's sharper. It's more obvious. We talk about it having muddy, and it's also, you can say, has a dark nature. So, in terms of the original Blast is leaner, clearer, has got more upper bass. It has a more sort of upper bassy sound, not that it's upper bass heavy, but there's more upper bass to be heard, because although other frequencies are there on this, apart from the mids being, clearly weak, that much bass just smothers everything else. It dominates everything else, and so that becomes all you hear. Whether it's anything else going on or not, that's all you hear. So that's why, by comparison, the Blast has some upper bass that you can pick out more easily. The X20 fills in some of the weaker mids that we talk about on the at these particular volumes. It changes at different volumes. On this one, where it's got weak mids, that's got stronger mids. All of them, I think, by comparison with the extreme push on the mid bass, come off as cleaner, leaner. Doesn't mean they are cleaner, leaner. It means by comparison, that's how they sound. I mean, it still is a huge bass boost on the X20. It's just not as big as on this one. The Boombox 3, which is obviously going to be, for most people, the best reference to get a handle on what's going on. You always get a bit more of a sense of deeper bass, even though this does have more deep bass, but it's smothered by the mid bass, whereas that's sculpted, so it brings out more of a sense of deeper bass. It kind of feels like you're getting more of that in the tummy slam. Although the actual amount of bass is less, it's the way they've sculpted it that, I can't say they've got better engineers or whatever, but they've sculpted it in quite a clever way. JBL are able to do that. It's kind of a JBL signature, and it works. If you want deep bass, if you want upper bass, it don't work. It's also got a 700 hertz peak that works well at lower volumes to bring out more clarity, but it becomes problematic. We'll see later on. I mean, the Boom 2 Plus is also a very mid-bassed push speaker, but by comparison, it sounds, again, thinner and leaner, simply because of the nature of that. And remember, difference in prices, depending on what their prices really be. This could be twice the price of the Boom 2 Plus. For me, I've got all these speakers. What do you mean if you had? I'm a lucky boy, ain't I? Not really. Well, did I pay? Yeah, I did. I got the Wi-Fi for free, but I paid for the Boombox 3. I did pay for the I did get delivered free the X20, but I had to pay not insignificant delivery charges for the X20 in an agreement with W-King for getting it from the USA. I bought the Blast, I think. I don't think, or did I? I can't even remember if I bought that or not. They probably sent it to me, but I don't actually remember that. And they sent me that. They didn't. Soundcore don't send me anything. Why don't they send you anything? Because I'm not Jay-Z Yagi. I tell it to you straight. If I don't like it, I tell you I don't like it. I don't read the promotion literature and then read the promotion literature to you. Soundcore don't like it when you do that. I don't get anything from Soundcore. So yeah, I definitely paid for that one. Louder volumes, I think, realistic volumes, if you're buying these type of speakers. This is not for low-level listening, although you can do some decent listening on that. 70% volume. It's pushing it for some of these speakers, but still, for me, they're party speakers. Let's have a party.
Let's get big until I forget my name. Let's get big. Jump right, slide to the left. Let's get big. Live it up while you can, and let's do it again. Let's get big. If you wanna dance, I can tell you about this place I know, somewhere hidden in the stars. Don't waste your energy, even though we're 23. Gotta give you roll tonight. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big. Until I forget my name. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big until I forget my name. Let's get big. Jump right, slide to the left. Let's get big. Live it up while you can, and let's do it again. Let's get big. If you wanna dance, I can tell you about this place I know, somewhere hidden in the stars. No, don't waste your energy, even though we're 23. Gotta give you roll tonight. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big. Until I forget my name. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big until I forget my name. Let's get big. Jump right, slide to the left. Let's get big. Live it up while you can, and let's do it again. Let's get big. If you wanna dance, I can tell you about this place I know, somewhere hidden in the stars. No, don't waste your energy, even though we're 23. Gotta give you roll tonight. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big. Until I forget my name. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big until I forget my name. Let's get big. my name. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get
Against the Boom 2 Plus, well, the Boom 2 Plus can't really manage even its mid-bass boost. It's now rolling off from around 80 Hertz, and it's really its upper bass where it relies on for bass. Lower mids, the Boom 2 Plus has a bit of a suck out now. The Boom 2 Plus is even weaker in terms of the mids and has a bit more of a boost at the high end to provide the clarity. Against the Boombox 3, well, even more dominant than it was at lower volumes now for the Blast 2. But at least at the louder volumes, it makes more sense to have that much bass. It's not quite as muddy as at lower volumes. It's the 700 Hertz peak that stands out for the Boombox 3, along with a high-end peak. And while overall it may be a bit more balanced, it's not a great listen really, given its lack of upper bass and indeed lower mids. The original Blast, it still holds up well at these volumes. It has quite a nicely balanced bass. Its problem again is its 5.5 kilohertz area, where it's got a suck out and then a big boost to make up for that. But it doesn't have the 3D processing of the Blast 2, and overall, I think it holds up really well. Against the X20, still kind of close in terms of the bass, but it is the Blast 2 that is totally dominant in bass, all bass, from deep bass all the way up to, indeed, some lower mids. But then the Blast 2 has its weak mids, but then they flip-flop, head towards the Presence region. It's the Blast 2 that's stronger, and the X20 that's dipping, and then they flip-flop at the high end for where they have their peaks. So they sound quite different at these louder volumes.
Now it makes more sense. To me, this is where the Blast 2, or the Blast XL, as I like to call it, because that makes more sense to me. And the speaker makes more sense as a fun party speaker. It doesn't sound, the relative bass keeps going up, but relative to the mids and highs, it reduces. It's a bit more balanced now in Xbass. It's not balanced in any sense of the word, just compared to how muddy it is at lower volumes. Now it's fun. Now there's a whole world of bass there. If that's what you wanted, it delivers. As a party speaker, for louder volumes, with huge bass dominated the sound completely, it delivers. Now it becomes fun. See, that was something that was totally missed in my original unboxing. When I said, guys, you cannot do a 10-second review. That was an unboxing. You have to spend time with the speaker to get to really know it. And it comes alive as you push up the volumes, becomes a bit clearer. It's huge bass, just less dominant than it was at lower volumes, but it's always dominant. It's a party speaker. I couldn't do any normal, critical, fun, just chilling out, listen to this. But if I want a party, I think it probably would be the one I pick up. I also still enjoy the original Blast, and the Boombox 3 can do a job because it brings out deeper bass for me. So what makes you say? So for me, the X20, these volumes, yes, there's still bass there and everything, but even the mids and stuff start dropping away. It's being pushed. It's really being pushed. Remember, on paper, they're saying 200 watts. Well, they're both saying 200 watts. It's just that it says 100 watts on their thing, on the label here. But they say 200 watts RMS. There's the difference. They don't say it's RMS. To me, it sounds a bit nasty. You can hear it breaking up. You can hear it distorting. Not so much that it's huge, but enough to ruin any enjoyment for me. I think this holds together well. It's smoother at these volumes. There's still bigger bass. For me, this isn't a speaker I'm going to pick up just for myself if I'm listening at those volumes. The 700 Hertz peak, it becomes problematic at these louder volumes. And every speaker anyway, simply by comparison, sounds thin compared to the huge bloated bass on this. They've gone for that. Maybe they're onto something when they're doing that. And it's a karaoke speaker. It's a party speaker. It's not the Blast. I still like the Blast, the original Blast of these. If I'm doing critical listening, I'm going to pick up the Blast before any of them, because there's still a nice full bass. It just doesn't go as deep and it's bloated as this. Depends what you want. But just for chill out music and for quiet listening or something like that, when I say quiet, I mean that's 70% or equivalent volumes, but there's still enough there for me to prefer that. But if I want a party and you're not really listening to music, you're just listening to the thump, I'm going for the Blast 2. The Boom 2 Plus, it's lost now. Look, against the smaller speakers, the same price, it would sound like the bass-heavy monster. But against these speakers, obviously, I'm not saying that's a bass-heavy monster, but against the others, it's outdone. It sounds a bit dull. It's going up a bass rather than mid-bass. we're finding the limits on that one. So there you go. So 70%, it makes a difference. I had nothing positive really to say in the first video other than saying if you're a mid-bass lover, you will like it. But at 70% volume, it's a bit more linear across the frequency itself, all, you know, from lows to highs, and it's fun. It's nothing to do with the original track or music. If I want that, I go for the Blast. Still doing a job for me. I hope they don't stop selling that. I wish they'd call this the XL. So, and then you've got something for everybody. So there you go. What's the ultimate headroom? Because that's for you. A lot of you still complain, well, it doesn't sound nice at 100%. Well, but buy a speaker that's got more power. None of them, of course, 100%, they're all pushed to the limits. That's what they're doing. They're trying to get as much volume out of it as possible. You know, maybe if it was for, you know, more high end, they would come down a bit. They would err on the side of caution in terms of distortion and stuff, and how harsh they will sound. These speakers will just try and get as loud as possible. Of course, they won't be a good listen at 100%. So you need to be realistic. All these speakers compared at maximum volume. Just to quickly show you, it does go about a decibel louder when you stick the mains lead into the Blast 2, but the frequency response doesn't change. You don't get a stronger bass, you get the same bass, but it's louder. When we look at all the speakers now, in their bass heavy modes, it's W-King X20 that goes the loudest overall, loudest in peaks, but the problem is that most of that volume is coming from this 1.2 kilohertz peak. Is it just my speaker? Other people say they don't have that peak, but I certainly have a big 1.2 kilohertz peak. That's why it's gone louder, but it's going to sound a little bit grating. In terms of who wins for the bass, the Blast 2 wins when you stick the mains lead in, but in terms of battery power only, while the X20 does just about have maybe half a decibel advantage over the Blast 2 in terms of the bass, deep bass, say from 60 hertz down, minus 35.1 in terms of overall deep bass with the mains lead in. It's the same as the X20. When we talk about LUFS, it takes into account perception of volume, and that's why, although you see a difference here in the bluish line here, which is the Blast 2, and then just below it the X20, in terms of what you will hear, they'll be identical. But on battery power alone, it's half a decibel down in terms of Blast 2 versus X20. In terms of perceived volume, it's about a decibel down overall. X20 wins in terms of just the bass, but it's very close. You may or may not hear that. The X20, very mids dominant, but just in that narrow peak. It's coming from there at 1.2 kilohertz. In terms of the highs, Blast 2 on battery has more of a high end,
than the X20 without that big nasty peak around 1.2 kilohertz, and they're very close in bass. You may prefer that sound overall. The little Blast 1 simply can't hold up in terms of overall volume, but it's not awful, and there is still some bass there. It's the Boom 2 that holds on to upper bass and then completely rolls off. So by 55 Hz, it's in line with the Blast 1, but it's managing some more overall volume thanks to its upper bass. The Boombox 3 totally lost, completely dominated now by its 700 Hz peak. So it comes off as quite nasty, but holds on to some deep bass. But in terms of having a party sound and going loud, kind of neck and neck between the X20 and the Blast 2. And if you stick the mains lead in, your Blast 2 will go a bit louder and make up the differences on the X20. On battery power alone, the Blast 2 is about a decibel behind, whether it's LUFS or peak, behind the X20.
In pure volume terms, the Boom 2 Plus goes. That's why loud, one figure for how loud it goes tells you nothing. It also depends on how you measure it. Just know in LUFS, which is much like C weighting, it's about perceived loudness. Bass is perceived as not being as loud as the mids and highs, so it's weighted less. So you could have massive bass, but it wouldn't show so much in a C-weighted figure, or in the LUFS, because it's the mids and the highs that count for more of the volume. When you see some people using an iPad or something, and they are telling you this is the max decibel, I mean, we won't even get onto how accurate the mics are on a tablet, and then they tell you, and the average decibel, just remember, they don't weight it. It tells you nothing how it will actually sound to your ears. Average dB taken from a tablet is meaningless, guys. I mean, it gives you some idea how loud it goes and it's relative to other things, but it's no means an accurate way at all of telling you how loud a certain speaker goes. You should also know a max is not a peak. Don't get them mixed up. They are quite different in terms of measurements, although in the real world, if you're loud in one, you'll be loud in the other, but they're not the same. A peak is an instantaneous how loud it goes, and max is more it's a longer time window when that measurement is taken. Who's the winner for me? For me, it's the Blast XL. It's the Blast XL, aka Blast 2, because it still sounds it's a better listen for me than the X20. The X20 goes loudest. Of course, you can stick the mains in. By the way, you can do that with the Boombox 3. It also goes about a decibel loud. I was surprised it went a bit loud. It makes me wonder what the real specs on the amps or amp, I don't know what they're actually using in there. Remember, these are op amps. They're one power supply, but they're going to have several op amps. I don't know how they're doing it, but for me, it's a smoother listen. The X20 technically goes louder. This goes a decibel louder if you stick the mains lead in, as does the Boombox 3. The only reason I did that was just to show how much louder it goes, as it's a feature. The X20 won't go louder. The Boombox 3 will. But in terms of, if I'm having a party, that doesn't sound good. It's got that 1.2 kilohertz peak. Other people say they haven't got it. I've certainly got it on mine. This is smoother. Listen, and it goes loud. Boombox 3 falls away. There's still some bass there. It just doesn't have it. The Boombox 4, well overdue now. It's getting a bit old in the tooth. But I don't hold out any hopes for the Boombox 4, having seen what happens with the Extreme 4, which is probably the most overpriced speaker. I mean, I talked about the Bose SoundLink Max as being highly overpriced, and it really is. However, there's nothing out there with the form factor and the punch of that speaker. For me, it's a perfect beach speaker. Whereas the Extreme 4 there's an alternative no matter what kind of listening I'm doing. The most overpriced, I guess, speaker there is for me, the Extreme. And I guess the Boombox 4 will just have a removable battery. Oh, wow, fantastic. They're bound to get a lot of use out of that. Well, I guess if you're doing long play runs and you could hot swap the batteries, then it would be good. Hey, they may shatter everybody's disillusionment with JBL. Not everybody. There's plenty of JBL fanboys out there. They do a lot of good things for the market. They're certainly the reference, and that's what everyone else aims for. That alone means JBL are doing a job. However, I hope it is time for the Boombox 4. It's losing ground to some of the cheaper speakers. I'm saying cheaper. I don't know. Is it going to be $300 or $220 or something like that? I'm confused about whether there'll still be discounts. There tends to always be some sort of discount going. They just call it a different name. Early Bird's going to finish on the 27th. Will there be discount? I don't know. It's all about the price. As I tell you many times, not Katie price, but the value for money price. So not value for money. Well, we can do the specs. It's a bit early. I might even do that in a separate video. What I did want to talk about, have I said anything else? Let me just quickly check. Just talking about overall, we're doing the summary for the Boombox, for the for the Blast 2. It would be very muddy at low volumes. Turn off Xbass, it's kind of less muddy. It may be good, better very, very soon when they add a traditional Blast setting in the app. But now the volumes for a party speaker, for a karaoke speaker, it's a world of fun. I don't know, is there anything else that can match that bass and how full, without sounding too distorted? Obviously, they've all got some distortion, every speaker, even the best speakers. It's a matter of whether you can hear the distortion or not. Everything distorts to a certain extent. It's a matter of, is it audible and is it annoying to you? So yeah, I think it does do a job if you want a fun party speaker and you're going to play it louder volumes. I wouldn't, not for lower volumes. It's got karaoke. We've turned it on. It's got a button there, on, off. And if you've never done karaoke before, this is what you do.
Bright light city gonna set my soul, I'm gonna set my soul on fire. Got a whole lot of money that's ready to burn, to get those stakes up higher.
It's only me, not Elvis. So we've got a volume on the back. I can go, you can't hear me, you can't hear it at all, you a bit louder, louder, louder. And you can do the reverb. We'll do the reverb. No reverb, more reverb, more. And ultimate reverb. Give us another one now. No, I'm too shy. Oh, go on now. We'll do the same one again.
A bright light city gonna set my soul, I'm gonna set my soul on fire. Got a whole lot of money that's ready to burn, get those stakes up higher.
What I will say, we'll turn it off. I will say is that it's a decent old mic. A lot of these mics, especially the wireless, wireless mics. This is obviously not wireless, but it's a long old cable. I can move it about. You know what's coming. You can move it about, not without completely losing without completely losing your actual voice, and also it didn't sound too sibilant. That's decent. There's not too much from an angle to that. So I would say thumbs up for the Tribit mic, if indeed you get the same mic as me. As you watch this now, this may or may not be a separate video to my main one, because I can't fit it all there. Because that's massively long. I've started splitting some things out. Seems to work reasonably well. If nothing else, I'm getting more views. Oh, it's all about the views for you now, isn't it? I've been accused of putting out videos just for views. Do you spot the difference? It's like saying you only put money in a savings account to get more interest. Of course, the only reason you get in the bath is to get wet. Of course, some things are so blinking obvious that you should have thought before you spoke. But anyway, we're going to compare. Right, so all these speakers, the specs, in terms of the price. Boombox 3, flip-flops. I mean, it can be reasonable value sometimes, and you can get some good discounts. As I sit here today, Elvis the Pelvis. Oh, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. About 400 quid, $450. That's massive. That's what she said. It's massive. Price. Would I pay that? No, not in a million years. But I would get the Wi-Fi, which brings true Dolby Atmos and Wi-Fi listening. But you can't hook up the Wi-Fi to this, and the Wi-Fi is, I think, probably like 700 quid or something. So yeah, JBL, very, 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 very extremely priced. You just got to decide whether it's worth it to you. It's not the best. Look, it's a reasonable listen. Whereas some of these are just party speakers, you can have a more decent listen. But still, it's got many issues, and it doesn't go that loud, and it's only the deep bass due to the sculpting. Makes it probably poor value. I wouldn't buy it today, but I might have bought it at the time. And actually, I did buy it at the time. The Stormbox Blast, 150 quid, $140. I saw $140 today when I sat down. That's still stonking value. If the newer ones sound like the older ones. X20, I think it's $250, but it seemed to be USA only. The Boom 2 Plus, which I took off the table. Why'd you do that out? Yeah, that makes no sense, does it? Let's fit it there. So the Boom 2 Plus, 150 quid, 220. I mean, the same price as the Blast, and there's no comparison in terms of quality. The Blast kills it. But the Blast XL or the Blast 2, I don't understand. It's going to sit somewhere between £200, $200 and £300, $300 all time. About $200 to $300, depending on whether you get discounts after the early bird or not. So it's hard to say where it's. So I presume they're not going to make it more expensive in real street price than the X20. If it's the same price as the X20, I would get the Blast. Not that it goes louder, but because it sounds nicer at very similar volumes with a fuller bass, that old full bass you can't get away from. As a party speaker, that's what it's for. More serious listening, the original Blast. For more of a party, the Blast 2, Blast XL. In terms of battery, basically 71 hours on the Boombox 3, 71 for the Blast, and that's the original Blast. It's a huge battery for the size of speaker. 71 hours on that. The X20 though, even I think it's the biggest battery I've come across at the moment. 111 watt hours. It's massive. 55 watt hours for the Boom 2 Plus, and 80 watt hours. It's still a decent battery, but you know, not up to the X20. So some of the hardware specs are not up to the X20, and that's maybe the issue for that. But in terms of pure party sound, I think it wins out. But it's SBC only, whereas, of course, they all do SBC, but the X20 and the Boom 2 Plus will also do AAC. They all do stereo pairing. I think the Blast will only compare with one other speaker, but with an update that's soon to come, it will pair in stereo mode, even though they sound different, with the original Blast. In terms of the charging, it's mains for the Boombox 3, it's mains for the original Blast, it's USB-C for the X20, USB-C for the Boom 2 Plus, and it's mains or USB-C. But how that breaks down into charging time is quite different. So the Boombox 3 will charge at 80 watts, which is massive. The original Blast charges at 40 watts. The X20 charges at 60 watts via USB-C. The Boom 2 Plus charges at 30 watts. With the Blast 2, it's only 10 watts on USB-C, and it'll take hours to charge if that's how you're charging it from flat. But it will charge at 50 watts for my measurements and they say that will be 3 to 5 hours from empty, but 50 watt hours is what I got on measuring it from the mains. They're all got power bank functionality, and that'll basically give you 10 watts. The only two with mic or guitar input is indeed the X20 and the Blast 2, whereas that's got two mic inputs. That's got the guitar input and a mic input. On paper, it's 180 watts. It's meaningless to a certain extent, the watts. 180 watts on, they say, whether it's real or not, you decide. 180 watts on mains power, 136 watts on battery power. The original Blast rated at 90 watts, the X20 rated at 200 watts RMS. The Boom 2 Plus rated at 140 watts on main and 100 watts on battery. No, I think that's 100, get it right. 140 watts, I think, if it's in Xbass mode, and 100 watts if it's with Xbass off, or bass up as they call it. And it's 180 watts, they say, on battery, and 200 watts on mains power for the Blast 2. Here's the good news. They're all IP7 rated, and they will all float if dropped in water. But only the Boom 2 Plus and the original Blast will float with the drivers up and still be usable if dropped in up to 1 meter water for 30 minutes. And it's the Boombox 3, the X20, and the Blast 2 that are also IP6 rated, which means rated as dustproof. In terms of those drivers, the Boombox 3, it's got two 81mm woofers, two 20mm tweeters, and 189mm by 114mm subwoofer. The original Blast has two 107mm woofers and two 25mm tweeters. They've all got two passive radiators, by the way. The X20, it has two 85mm woofers, two 25mm tweeters, and 180mm by 100mm subwoofer. The Boom 2 Plus has two 115mm woofers, two 20mm tweeters, and the Blast XL has two 81mm woofers, two 30mm tweeters, and one 190mm by 114mm subwoofer. Is that their measurements? Actually, I think I measured it less. Hang on, let me show you my measurements, because I actually measured it as less. Yeah, those are the official specs, but I found they've measured it from edge of frame to edge of frame, whereas for me, the right way to do it is the movable part of the driver is how you measure it. And if you do it that way, as the other measurements are for the other speakers, it comes in at 260mm woofers, 225mm tweeters, and the subwoofer is 170mm across by 95mm high. That's measuring it the traditional way, let's say, the movable area of the driver. That's been my story. God knows, it's about an hour and a half sitting here. I have to break this stuff out because it's just getting too long. That's what she said. You know, you never said that. She definitely didn't say that. This would probably be a separate. So yeah, am I going to use this as the end for the specs video or the other? I don't know. We'll have to say. And do you know why I like doing specs videos? Because it's got specs appeal. That's my new catchphrase. I've got specs appeal. Right, here we go. It's the end of the video. Thank you for watching, for sticking with it. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I get it. But it's what I do. I can't do it any other way. Honestly, it'd be a lot easier in my world if I just did a 5-minute video with a one sound clip and just say, "Oh, I like that," and that would be. And people, honestly, they'll lap it up. I just can't do it. I cannot do it. I cannot sit here for 5 minutes. I sit here for that's the problem. An hour and a half. That's a 2-day edit, isn't it? Everything gets delayed. So I thank you for watching. I thank you for sticking with me yet again. Yes, JZ Aggie is not telling you the whole story. He's still saying there's a phantom comment that you cannot... Anyway, he's flip-flopped so many times. No matter what he says now, we can see his story's not consistent. I know it's not true. I'm very, very angry about his... It's not so much about the Audioholics removing comments. It's about JZ Aggie 1 year later, suddenly speaking up, coming up with a whole different story, and then 2 different stories, even in the same comment thread, accusing me of things that are not true. I'm not having that. Thanks for watching this video. I hope to see you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much. What the f*** was that? Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed.
It comes from China.
My speaker's got deep bass, balanced mids, and a bright high.
Yes, mine sounds exactly the same.